How do you describe the feeling? I've only ever dreamt of this. Hello, my loyal subjects. You're watching a new episode of Kylie Retrospectives, a series in which we delve into the discography of the pint-sized princess, Miss Kylie Minogue, in the lead-up to her new album, Disco, which comes out on the 6th of November, at the time of recording. Only a month away as well, how exciting is that? I'm ElliXia's Valentine, Malvern's answer to Rosy Ribbons. Thank you for joining me today. This week, we are taking it back to 2007's comeback album, X. A rather divisive album, to say the least. This album was Kylie's first album since recovering from breast cancer in 2006. It was released on the 26th of November 2007 in the UK, and it reached number 4 in the UK albums chart. It's home to the singles Two Hearts, Wow, In My Arms, and The One, and then as well there is also international only single All I See, which we are pretending we do not see. Today's look I'm going for Candy Floss Princess. I'm also wearing, you can't really see it unfortunately, but underneath this I do have a nice sparkly jumpsuit as well. So there we have it. Visually, X was very, very flamboyant. There was a clear influence, I think, from drag queens. Extravagant outfits, extravagant makeup, you name it, X's photo shoot has it. So, of course, I said that X is quite a divisive album amongst the fan base as a whole. Of course, the album still did well. It sold well, it went platinum, it had a tour which was very, very successful as well. If memory serves me correctly, I think the sort of general reaction to X as a whole was a bit meh. And my opinion on X does kind of change fairly regularly. I'll just straight up say it, there are no bad songs on this album. None at all. There are songs that don't really suit Kylie all that well, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. It just means that maybe they would have been better for somebody else. Then there's some absolute perfection on this album as well. It's definitely quite contradictory of itself. And of course there are some very stellar B-sides. And I don't like to talk about leaks, generally, I like to keep it official, but some of the tracks that leaked for X were spectacular, and it's criminal that they were left off the album. X is home to some of Kylie's strongest material, but also home to some of the weakest. So, without further ado, let's delve right into that track listing. So here I am looking at the album's track listing on the back. I'm not being funny. I can't read that. I can't read that at all. For those of you who don't know, I am visually impaired, so I can see it, but it's just a load of squiggly lines. But even with my glasses on, I can't really read that. I don't need to look at the track listing, I know this album. I know all of our albums off by heart, you know what I mean? So up first, we have single number 1, Two Hearts, which was released in November of 2007, and like the album, it also reached number 4 on the UK singles chart. Now, Two Hearts. I remember Two Hearts coming out. A little bit of background story for me actually. At this point I was in year 11. For a good number of years in high school I didn't really listen to much music or like any pop music because I was a little bit embarrassed. I was a little bit ashamed because they were like, didn't want people to think I was gay or girly or da-da-da. Obviously I clearly couldn't give a fuck about that now, but at the time I did. But then like in 2006 I sort of got over that and just decided to embrace my love for pop music and I got into it. So X was the first album to be released during that period in my life when I was actually like actively following pop music again and actually like having an opinion. So anyway, Two Hearts was like the first Kylie single that I heard sort of as like an active music fan. That was new. I remember listening to Two Hearts for the very first time on MySpace actually. Remember MySpace? So I remember hearing Two Hearts on MySpace and feeling a bit like, well it's okay, where does it go kind of thing. Over time, Two Hearts did actually really grow on me though, and I did end up really liking it. In the lead up to X, there was a lot of hype surrounding it. A lot of producers across the UK were fighting to get a song on this album. Because you think about it, right? Kylie Minogue, one of the biggest stars in the world at that point, recovering from breast cancer. She had just completed a phenomenally successful sellout comeback tour, the Showgirl Homecoming tour. So a new Kylie album in 2007 was a guaranteed success. I think if you were a pop music producer or writer at that point, you would really want to get a spot on that album. Probably, I would say, the most anticipated pop release of 2007, maybe alongside Britney's Blackout. So I think Two Hearts was a little bit jarring because it wasn't the conventional spinning around, can't get you out of my head, dance disco bop that people expected. I actually commend Kylie for doing something a bit different and a little bit like unexpected. However, I do think Two Hearts is kind of missing something. It feels like it's building up to a payoff that it doesn't quite reach. I like how it starts off sort of slow and gets gradually bigger and bigger as it goes along. But it doesn't quite hit the peak that I know it can. I think a problem that Two Hearts has is it doesn't have a middle eight. So after like the last chorus, it kind of just ends. There's space for like a good middle eight there, and then for it to have one final cascading, explosive last chorus. And the live version of that, for the best part, does have that. Even if the middle eight would just be like a little refrain of the like, oh, don't let go, like on repeat before then blasting into the last chorus, that would have really projected the song, I think, and really made it so much better than it was. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. Second single we have is Wow. Wow is a bop and a half. It's a little bit sort of like Daft Punk-esque. It's got some lovely sort of sound effects, like whooshing, bleeping sound effects. It's very enjoyable. Now I know some of the fans that I've seen some fans say how much they dislike Wow. I don't really know why, other than I guess maybe it's possible overexposure from having done on tour so many times. But I really enjoy Wow. I always want to dance to it when it comes on. It's very feel-good. It's very camp as well. I wonder if Wow had been the lead single, maybe it would have done better, I don't know. And I remember getting X for Christmas 2007 and like searching for Wow like straight away to listen to it because I really enjoyed it. Next up we have In My Arms, which is the album's third UK single, second international. I think sort of Wow and In My Arms were kind of released at the same time in different territories and then the other way around. Now In My Arms is perfection. In My Arms is in the top 2 songs on this album, easily. It was produced by Calvin Harris, who at the time was like quite well known. You know, he had some hit singles in the chart, but he wasn't anywhere near as prolific as he is now. And In My Arms is just fantastic. It's classic Kylie, brought up to date. And to be honest, to me, In My Arms still sounds fresh now. It still sounds just as good as it did back then, if not even better. It is so good. It's so feel good. It's so joyful. The video is amazing as well. She looks really cool in the video. Some really good costuming. It's one of the moments that makes X a confusing listen because I'm like, wow. No pun intended there, but I'm like, wow. In My Arms is just so good. Then we have the album's 4th single, The One, which is another moment of perfection. In My Arms and The One are the 2 strongest songs on this album by a million miles. The One is just, again, every time I listen to The One, I'm just like cleansed. I'm transported to another world. It feels like I'm floating amongst the stars and it's really beautiful. And it has the Freemasons remix as well, which is even better, maybe? I don't know, I would say it's equally as good at least. It's so luscious. It's kind of in a similar vein to I Believe in You, but again, a bit more updated. Not that I Believe in You is dated, mind. I Believe in You is a classic as well. Now criminally, The One didn't do so well. It reached number 38 in the UK singles chart. At that point, it became her lowest charting single. It was her first single in 10 years not to reach the top 10 as well. It wasn't promoted very well, and the music video was fairly low budget as well. I think the visual was still nice. It's a nice enough visual, but it's nowhere near as good as what the song deserves. Thankfully though, The One is such a huge fan favourite. I like that The One still gets performed on tour as well. It was done on the Aphrodite tour with this gorgeous harp arrangement as well, and it was just, oh, so lovely. Done on the Golden tour recently. I love the version on tour that's done where it starts off as a ballad and then after the first chorus it like explodes into the dance version of it, and it's just so good. The One is The One. Now we move on to the rest of the album track listing, which is a mixed bag, to say the least. So up first we have Like a Drug, which is the album's 2nd track. Like a Drug is one of the really good songs actually. It's very minimal, it's quite electronic, it's very dreamy. Like a Drug is definitely one of the album's highlights, I think. And on tour as well, Like a Drug had an extended intro because there was a costume change. The performance of Like a Drug on the Kylie X 2008 tour has a really nice instrumental extended intro that's just so dreamy. Then we have the song Speakerphone, which is quite a fan favourite, I believe. I have to be honest though, it doesn't really do it for me. Now, in 2009, Kylie did a tour called the For Me For You tour, which was exclusively in North America because she'd never toured there before. And Speakerphone is used on that. However, it was reworked into a much more up-tempo dance track, and I have to say that version is significantly better. If that version had been on his album instead, then Speakerphone would be among the best songs for me. Speakerphone's got some cool moments, you know, she's basically mentioning every bone in your body at one point, which is, you know, who else is doing that? It's not very often you hear the word collarbone in a song, is it? Yeah, Speakerphone just kind of lacks a bit of pizzazz for me. I don't know why. I don't think it's a bad song by any means. It just doesn't hit the spot for me. Madonna really likes it though. Madonna included it in a playlist of like her favourite songs at the time in 2008. Yeah, that was nice of Madonna. Then up next we have Sensitized, which is a mid-tempo track with some sort of Middle Eastern influence as well. I really like Sensitized. It sounds a bit like it's building up, again, a bit similar to Two Hearts. It sounds a bit like it's building up to something. It doesn't quite reach that climax. However, I think this time it kind of doesn't need to reach it, if you know what I mean. Like there's a level with Sensitized that's sort of simmering the whole time. Yeah, Sensitized is nice. I enjoy it. It isn't a massively strong track, I have to be honest, but I do enjoy it. Then we have Heartbeat Rock, which is another track that isn't really my favourite either. Heartbeat Rock was the other Calvin Harris production. It's got a sort of marching band drum-esque quality to it with some very sharp synths. I feel like Heartbeat Rock would be a really good song if it had more of a chorus. I think the chorus is what lets it down. And subsequently, I don't know, Heartbeat Rock, again, there's like no payoff for it for me. I listen to it and I'm kind of waiting for it to really take off and it just doesn't for me. Again, I still enjoy it when I listen to it, but I can't help but think it might be one of those songs that would be maybe better sung by somebody else. I think Heartbeat Rock is a good song, it just isn't my personal favourite again. I don't like being negative about Kylie, I feel really mean. Like I said before, none of these songs are bad, and I respect that there's work that's gone into them. I'm never the kind of person to dismiss a song I don't like as shit or whatever. If these songs are among your favourites, then that is absolutely fine. You're not wrong for that, I'm not wrong for my opinion, you know what I mean? Up next we have No More Rain, which is a lovely song. I really like No More Rain. It's written from the perspective of her hospital bed when she knows she sings about her dreams of returning to the stage. Two lyrics really get me on No More Rain. The line in the chorus of having a second-hand chance is like, wow. That's, you know, that's quite poignant. And then another lyric where she sings, have you ever dreamt you were flying until you looked down? You never moved an inch, feet firmly on the ground. And of course, like you think as well, you know, she's still in a hospital bed and she's still receiving treatment, and I think Kylie isn't the kind of singer who exposes her soul very much on her records, but I think No More Rain is a very vulnerable moment and I really appreciate it. And I was reading about the development process for X and how she really wanted No More Rain to be on the album and was like quite insistent on getting the right sound for it and making sure it was exactly how she wanted it to be. And then that leads us into All I See. I have to admit, when I think of my least favourite Kylie tracks, All I See is often among them. It's very understated, sort of mid-tempo R&B, which isn't a bad thing at all. I love me some mid-tempo R&B and I love me some understated. The song just doesn't hit the mark for me at all. It feels very filler-ish. It feels very, again, like a song that just doesn't really suit Kylie. It sounds a bit like a Janet Jackson song, but not as one of Janet Jackson's weaker songs, you know. And it sounds a bit like if it was a Janet song, she would probably be able to pull it off better. Yeah, I don't think that All I See is bad. I just think it's, you know, not really suited to Kylie. For lack of a better term, it's kind of bland. And bland is the last thing I want with pop music. I would actually sooner listen to a song that is absolutely terrible, but at least entertaining, than a song that's just bland. Anyway, the next song we have is Stars, which is a more sort of up-tempo dance kind of song with a little bit of rock in it as well, you know, well, it uses guitars. I really like Stars. It's got some sort of philosophical lyrics as well about, like, you know, sort of finding your destiny and what is the meaning of life kind of thing. One of the album's stronger moments again. It's not perfect, but it is a nice track. It's got some really lovely lyrics. And then we have this song, New D T, aka Nudity. I know I said earlier I don't really think there are any bad songs on the album. However, I would say that Nudity is very much threatening to be a bad song. To put it nicely, it's quirky, it's cheeky, it definitely doesn't take itself seriously, that's for sure. It features some rather naughty lyrics. One of the lyrics is just pop that zipper for me and whap that thing. And I think we know what she's talking about there. And I'm obviously this close to contacting Ofcom again. Nudity is quirky and it is kind of fun. Again though, it fits the bill of a Kylie song that I think would just be better suited for somebody else. It feels very sort of Gwen Stefani-ish. And even watching Kylie perform it on the tour actually, it didn't really seem like it suited her that much. And then lastly we have the album's closing track, Cosmic. Cosmic sort of things about, like, again, it's sort of quite philosophical and reflecting on her intentions for her comeback and things like that. You know, she says, I wanted the right to misbehave. I wanted to sing exotic words. I wanted to talk without the interruption. But she sings like, I wanted the right to misbehave. But nowhere on X really does she exercise that. Does she exercise that? Anyway, Cosmic is a nice ballad and it definitely works as a nice sort of chilled way to close the album out. A bit like how After Dark did on Body Language as well. You know, it's kind of like that song as the credits roll up. It's that song when, if it's a show, then it's sort of played as you leave, you know. But the problem with Cosmic, I think when she sings things about like, I wanted the right to misbehave and stuff, you sort of, I know when I listen to X as a whole, I'm left feeling a bit like, but you didn't. Do you know what I mean? And that concludes the album's main track listing. We also have 2 extra tracks, Rippin' Up the Disco, which was a song that you could access by putting it in your computer, I believe. Remember when CDs used to come with that like bonus thing? You put it in your computer and they'd be like music videos and maybe a hidden track and some wallpapers. It was one of those kind of things. Rippin' Up the Disco is fun, it's up-tempo, it's electronic. It's better than probably quite a few of the songs that did make the album track listing, you know, the main body of it. And then we have Magnetic Electric, which is possibly one of the most frustrating omissions from this record. Magnetic Electric absolutely slaps. It is so good. It's electric, obviously. It's up-tempo, it's ballsy, it's in your face. It would have been a perfect lead single choice, I think. Unfortunately, it was just relegated to being a bonus track on iTunes instead. And as we enter into these B-sides and bonus tracks, we definitely come across a lot of missed opportunity. So Two Hearts had 2 B-sides, fittingly. King or Queen, which is a nice mid-tempo electronic number about somebody who dances really, really well. And then we've also got I Don't Know What It Is, which is tips his hat ever so slightly sort of glam rock. It feels very much of like a mid-2000s pop song that has sort of bits of guitar in it. Sort of similar to kind of the music that Girls Loud and Sugar Babes did at the time. And as big fans of those, it makes me very happy. And then Wow had 3 B-sides with it as well. Cherry Bomb, which is quite electronic as well. Almost feels a bit video game-ish at points. It also has another spinning around reference because you know Kylie loves her spinning around references. We also have Do It Again, which is very, very camp, very fun, up-tempo. And we've got Carried Away, which is also very fun, up-tempo, pretty camp as well. Both songs are very electronic. Both songs are far superior to a lot of what made the album, in my eyes. And then we have, of course, the leaks. Now, I'm not advocating for listening to leaks either, so don't demonetize me. Not that I'm gonna make money off this anyway. There's like at least 40 unreleased X tracks floating around on the internet. And subsequently it becomes quite a popular discussion point on forums and stuff for people to, you know, say their dream X track listing. Now, I've never made my dream X track listing. I know there are definitely some songs I would cut and some songs I'd put on, but I've never actually compiled it. But a lot of these songs that leaked as well point to a sort of harsher electronic sound, not too dissimilar to what Lady Gaga then ended up doing in 2008 and 9. Which says to me with this album, Kylie could have very much been ahead of the curve with pop music. But I think subsequently, Kylie and her record label wanted to play it quite safe. Songs on the album that edge more towards R&B and things like that are quite safe choices because that was quite popular in 2007. Straight up pop wasn't actually all that popular in 2007. The charts were full of a lot of hip hop and indie as well. And I can understand wanting to play it safe as well, given that it was Kylie's first album in 4 years. And of course in 4 years, the industry changed a lot. The way we even consume music changed a lot. When Body Language was released in 2003, CDs were still really popular. But by the time X came out, it was all about downloads and iPods and things like that. And in pop music, 4 years is a lifetime. So how do I feel about X as a whole? That's a hard question to answer because I love some of the tracks, I'm not that keen on some of the tracks, and then there are a load of other tracks stashed away in the vault that would have made a much better body of work as a whole. And so when it comes to placing X on a ranking system for me, it is in the lower half, unfortunately. Which is a real shame. But you know, it was 13 years ago, and Kylie has released some far superior material since then, so we're all good. If this was the beginning of a huge decline, then it'd be a problem, but it wasn't. Kylie got her groove back in the next album, which of course we're going to discuss next week. And so, that concludes a somewhat mixed bag of a Kylie retrospective episode. Any Kylie fans who are big fans of X, just remember, it's just my opinion. It's not factual. I'm not wrong, you're not wrong, you know. And I respect X for what it is, as a body of work, and as a way for Kylie to get back in the game after having to take some time out. And don't forget to join me next week when we're taking it 10 years ago, back to ancient Greece, with 2010's Aphrodite. Now, I will forewarn you that Aphrodite is not just only my favourite Kylie album, but it's my favourite album of all time. So I'm looking forward to next week, definitely. This was the album that really, really got me into Kylie. And without Aphrodite, you probably wouldn't even be watching this video right now. And once again, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're all staying safe, looking after yourself, the usual stuff, you know, like and subscribe, blah, 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 if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Thank you very much. And don't forget, I've been ElliXia Q Valentine, and please book me. Mwah.